what is the new agent evaluating at the end of the week? The one mistake I do think agents do is they over-evaluate the process too early. Like, I got this dial. They should commit to dialing. If you're working part-time, you need to work full-time in your part-time. You need to have a full-time commitment in your part-time. That means if nobody's answering, keep dialing. Did you get paid for the work that you did? No, then you keep dialing until you get paid. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. I'm rocking it with my amigo, my buddy, my, give me another name, Zach. What's another one? Sidekick.
There you go.
That's a funny one. Welcome back, Zach. We are talking today about kind of setting expectations for new agents. That's kind of the focus today. So we're talking about, we're going to paint a picture here.
Okay, Picasso.
Yeah, kind of a Picasso, more like a Norman Rockwell. But we're talking through an agent's first week. We're going to talk as if the week has happened already, okay? And we're going to look at three specific areas. What did they probably experience? What are their emotions afterwards? That tends to be an important one. And the experiences too, but now what do they do after they've experienced what they've experienced the very first week? So that's our goal. If you're a new agent, sometimes it's good to know what you're stepping into, and it can feel really, really big on the front side of this. And if we can, make it bite-sized.
So essentially, we're going to put ourselves in that new agent's shoes. That agent that hasn't been out yet, this is what you're about to experience. The agent that just finished their first week, this is what you did experience. And now come alongside of us, and we're going to show you what to do next week.
I love it, dude. That's a great idea.
Let's do that. I think so.
Okay, so let's talk through this.
It just came to me.
Let's talk through this of what an agent has experienced after their first week.
Yeah, I'm a guy of questions, right? So I need the deets. I need the details. So first week, and what type of insurance am I in right here?
Okay, let's. We're talking life sales, so it's going to be final expense mortgage protection. We have a new agent who's we do a lot of FE stuff. We'll pick on the MPs today. Okay, MP. Let's do. They're doing stuff over the phone. Okay, that sound good?
That sounds great.
Okay. So they're a new agent. This is their first week. They just wrapped up. And we can even, if you want, we can go down two roads. Like, was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? I'm cool either way.
And the reality is it's probably both wrapped into one.
Yes.
Because the one thing I know as an agent, and it varies for every personality and everybody out there, but for the most part, it happened for me. And I would say I'm probably one of the least emotional people you know as far as to have the swings.
Yes.
And I know agents that have worked with us very closely that have had high emotional swings.
Yes.
And when I say that, I'm referring to like high highs and low lows, all wrapped in the same thing. When I think about a new agent in their journey, and this relates to their first week, because this new agent's journey, really a course of the year, it's the same, but it's like I always compare it to a swing set, right? And when you're a brand new agent in your first week, and think about your swing set going at full speed, right? Because you don't really know what to expect. You're following the directions of your upline, your guidance. You're extremely nervous, right? Mm-hmm. And this would be the high backside of the swing, getting ready to go forward, right? And you're like, don't really know if I want to do it. I'm hesitating. I'm trying to convince myself to not make these dials, to not knock on this door. Do I really want to do this? I'm questioning everything. And then boom, I make the choice and I'm in.
Yes.
And if I'm going to be in, I might as well give it all I have. So I'm swinging forward on this swing set, and I'm going through and I'm making dials. I'm going through. I'm knocking on doors. I'm doing everything I need to. My activity is high. I don't know what to expect. All of a sudden, I get my first connection on the phone. I'm very excited. I don't really know what to do. I probably panic, and the call probably only lasts about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Reality, right? Okay, perfect. I felt that. Now, I actually need to go to the script because I was so nervous. I was so panicky that I probably didn't even, everything went out the door the moment Miss Peggy said hello. Next thing, I get back on my horse. I go again, and now I'm calling, and I'm making progress. I probably get through. I find, I make some phone calls, and this time I get halfway through a presentation and reluctantly lose control, probably throughout. The client starts asking me questions. I start answering their questions, and all of a sudden, I'm off my rocker again. Now I realize, okay, I can get them on the phone. I can flow through the presentation, but now I need to stick to what I've been taught in my script and in my mentors, and I just need to finally follow the process. My anxiety has subsided a little bit. I kind of know what I'm doing, or know what I should be doing at least. Now I make it through, and I get my first sale. I'm probably sky high, right? I'm super excited. There's nothing like your first app, Chris. There's nothing like that. I'm all the way forward on that swing set. And if you can imagine, the rest of the day and the rest of the week is you just swinging all the way forward, super excited and encouraged, and then all the way back. Because most likely you possibly would have a couple sales. You possibly would have one of them already cancel, and you possibly would have a lot of appointments that a new agent is extremely hopeful that they're going to turn out.
Yeah. Follow-ups,
appointments, disappointments, whatever you want to call it, that they're like, oh yeah, they're definitely going to buy. It's the new agent telling you, Chris, they're definitely going to buy. I know, I'm very confident. We're going to set up a time for next week.
Nice. Yes, you are.
Yeah, exactly. There's the encouraging Chris there. And then there's probably a few people that hang up and say, don't call me, how'd you get my information? And that really affects me as a new agent as well in a negative way. So that's where I go with the swing set. There's probably really high moments and really negative moments, all wrapped up in a day and then in a week.
So let's talk about, I like your analogy there. I think that's true for a lot of them, probably more frontside hangups than they expected, unless they were communicated with and you know, their upline had set. That's the key thing to me, is expectations.
Yes.
And walking through those processes to continue the conversation. But let's talk about the measure of a win for that first week, because
that's good.
Let's say agent A did 100 calls a day, 150 calls a day, talked with 20 people Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They talked to another 10 that they did presentations, 20 that hung up, 10 presentations. They didn't write an application. Okay. Agent B did 100 calls a day for 3 days and wrote one application for 3,500, and then call the rest of the week because their swing set was high. Who won? What was the win? Was there a win? Maybe there wasn't a win.
This is a very, very good point here, because I think there's fake wins, right? And there's lasting subtle wins. The win, in my opinion, and I believe you have to have wins in your first 2 weeks, but you have to know how to measure those wins. Exactly what you're saying. The win is making your first dial, right? Because I think most agents fail before they even get in the game. And that's the paralysis by analysis.
Correct.
That's the anxiety. That's the self-doubt that comes. And then I don't want to invest or buy the leads, or they don't make it to this point. So the win is getting settled and actually diving in. The second win is being able to go through the dials, because that is not the most exciting thing. And when it comes to setting expectations, this is so important, Chris, because people share the opportunity of insurance, or to be able to work from home, to be able to make $3, $4, $5, $6, $7,000 in a day or in a week selling life insurance at home, and or even at a vacation home or an Airbnb in an exotic location. And this just sounds amazing, right?
Yeah.
But there's never any videos on Instagram or TikTok that says, join life insurance and watch this 7-hour reel of me making 400 phone calls, right? So that's the part of the grind that is never communicated, expressed, and that's the toughest part of this entire thing. It's not tough to get commission statements in your email. It's not. It's not tough to ask the client to sign on this page, right? Like after everything's been confirmed and they've committed. It's not tough to buy the leads. It's not tough to decorate your desk right by the window with the windows open and it's 75 degrees out and it looks beautiful and you got your headset on and you're throwing a TikTok video ready to start dialing for the day. It's not tough to do any of that.
That is 100% correct.
It's tough to make those dials regardless of getting an app or not getting an app, and being disciplined to the dials and the time on the phone, and to truly understand and be taught that it is a numbers game. Yeah.
I would say the win in our scenario, the one who won would be the one who committed to doing the dials. The win is the activity. On week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, then you can lift your head up and evaluate at a higher level.
Results always follow activity.
That's right.
They will always follow the activity. And I almost wish Agent B in your scenario didn't make the one app sell for $3,500.
I agree. Yeah.
Because that is probably the worst thing that can happen to a brand new agent on their very first week, because now their activity is results based and their results are not based on their activity.
Correct. Yeah.
It's when you have that reversed, it's not a good recipe.
Yeah. Well, let's. I like what we've talked about, like the experience, and we have a couple of avatars here. We have one who's, did get this big app, one who didn't get the big app. What is the new agent evaluating at the end of the week? The one mistake I do think agents do is they over evaluate the process too early. Like, I got this style. They should commit to dialing, like regardless. Like I say, if you're working part-time, you need to work full-time in your part-time. You need to have a full-time commitment in your part-time. That means if nobody's answering, keep dialing. Did you get paid for the work that you did? No, then you keep dialing until you get paid for the work that you did.
That's a huge discrepancy, Chris, because I think everybody has an expectation personally. And I don't know who set this. They may set it for themselves, but they have an expectation of full-time pay, but they have a work ethic of a part-time work ethic.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't line up, people get really disappointed and they blame the opportunity. I think another point that I want to bring up to this whole conversation is your team or your upline or your accountability partner. Because to be honest, an agent doesn't know what a win is in the first week.
They don't know what to evaluate.
Right. And if you're listening to this call, this podcast, and you have a downline, or maybe you've experienced this and had it or didn't have it, so you can speak to it either way, you need to let them know what the win is. Because a new agent, in my opinion, agent A, that's a win. They're starting to understand the grind and the hustle, but if nobody tells them a win, they're looking at the results and comparing it to agent B and said, I'm just not cut out for it.
Right. Yeah. They look at agent B and think that
they
agent
don't know
B
what
won.
to celebrate.
Yeah.
They have no idea what to celebrate. And I think it's very important to have that mentor, that guidance, or to even before you go into your week, to understand what are my goals this week? What are my wins? Side note, I do a lot of coaching for agents that get into ruts where they've been successful, they've had success, and now they can't seem to throw an app in the ocean. Right? And it's always simple. It's switching the mindset. And the reason I want to say this is because it relates to the mindset you have to start with at the very beginning, which is, what is our goals? What are we trying to accomplish? What is our mindset? What is a win?
Yes.
In that scenario where an agent could be in the field for 4 or 5 years and have had tons of success, and now I just don't know what I'm doing, Chris, sometimes it's, okay, perfect. Our number one goal is just to get in the house, right? Or to have a presentation, to do a sit, and then beyond that, my goal, I don't care if you sell it or not. I want you to form a friend, right? I want you to have a best relationship, the best trust building you've ever done with any sit. Then I want you to do the best presentation, the best education you've ever done. And that's it. Everything else will work itself out. Like changing the focus and identifying what the wins are is so crucial in that.
Yeah.
In that first week, getting out there, staying out there, and taking notes and adjustments as you're moving through and starting to figure out how it feels, just like riding a bike, right?
Yeah, and I think it's important tracking that activity because I think the new agent doesn't know any better other than to measure it based on their results or their emotions.
Would you compare it to anybody else?
What do you mean?
Your numbers, like.
Oh, as a new agent?
I think saying like what is a win on those numbers?
I think it'd be hard for an agent not to. I think a new agent, if they're looking at a scoreboard or if your organization has a new scoreboard, they have a desire to compete. They have a desire to do that. Now, the issue is, what is the proper measure or the win, like we talked about? And it would be activity-based. That would be the win.
Right. There's not many people that have a scoreboard on activity measures.
Correct. Yeah. Maybe that's a mistake.
I don't know. I think it goes back to the mentor, the upline, I always say that you need to find someone that has the results that you want.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And for that exact reason, Chris, like, you need to know, is $150 terrible? Is it amazing?
Right.
Or is it in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it changes from the agent itself, their own drive, their own work ethic, their own availability, and skill set. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes when you compare to your upline that may has the results that you want, they have potentially earned the right to make less dials. Meaning they've perfected their craft over time, and their presentation and their script and their flow and building trust to where they can close at a much higher rate. And now, if they're closing at a higher rate and they've dialed in maybe their leads, their lead volume, they've got that to a level. That's not necessarily what you want to start out doing as a brand new agent.
Right.
Me personally, I started out with a ton of leads. And when I was operating at peak performance, it was nearly half what I originally started out with. My production was probably 3 times. My leads were probably half. And the time I spent in the field was cut by probably 50, 60%. Because you earned the ability to gain time back in your life and still maintain and grow your income. So what's very important to ask in your first week, or even before your first week, moving to your second week, isn't, oh, Chris, you're my mentor and you're performing. I want your results. I need to do exactly what you do, the same number of leads you do, the same number of dials, the same call sessions. I need to say, Chris, what was your schedule when you first started?
Right.
How many leads did you start with? Because the truth is, there's a massive learning curve that I'm going to go through personally, and I need to fumble and fall on my face.
Correct. That's good. Let's talk about this emotion side of thing. I think you addressed it pretty well when you had said, I kind of wish that agent didn't get that big app on the front side of this because it affected their activity. They celebrated that. Tell me if you agree with this. Whatever you're feeling at the end of the week, regardless of your results, get over it quick. I think that emotion can settle and it can affect future activity. So if you have the agent who didn't write an app, but he put in all the activity, he's questioning the opportunity because he didn't perform as well as agent B.
Yeah.
Agent B is letting it affect his activity because he had what he considers in his mind or her mind a big win. And so now they've got the big win. It looks easy. The process looks easy, and they can keep performing at that level.
I totally agree. I think you need to approach this as you're a golfer and you're facing your own scores, and there's different parts of your game that you need to work on before you're ready for a tournament or to run for the number one producer of the week to compete against somebody else. I think that can change your focus. You need to practice the craft of your game, your chipping, your putting, your driving, whatever it is. You need to practice that intensely. And you need to forget your last shot. You need to forget your last app, whether it was a big app or a hang up, I hate you, right? You need to forget that immediately. Now, I'm not saying don't celebrate it. Please celebrate it. But 5 minutes later, you're
Get
broke.
over it.
Guess what? The reality is you're unemployed until your next application. That's the reality.
Yes.
So you can't rest on that success, and you can't rest on that failure.
Yeah.
You just got to get back up and do it.
Get over it quick. Enjoy it. Get over it.
Yes.
Hurt, get over it. Regardless of what it is, get over it. And you've mentioned it several times, but having that accountability person. And there's a key thing to this accountability for new agents. I've had new agents. And I can tell you exactly when it happens, okay? There are sometimes when new agents will get on a coaching call and then they will do all the talking. And they will tell me at the end of the call, hey, thanks for the talk. I know what to do. And I didn't even say anything. Like I was just waiting for my opportunity. And a lot of times that comes from agents who have sold a lot in other areas of their life. Like maybe they're a car salesman or they're getting into the industry and they've had experience in medical sales or something like that. And they're going through their reps on the front side of this, but their coachability awareness isn't there yet. Mm-hmm. And there's a thing that has to happen with an agent and a mentor is I have to give you the keys to the car, or I have to give you the reins over this and come to you as the person that I can trust to speak into this because you know more about this specific area than I do.
Yeah, and I think I want to add something to that. That's a very good point. When it comes to an agent in their first couple of weeks, I think another thing that affects all of this we're talking about is the pressure. The pressure they put on themselves emotionally and financially. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that pressure could come from family members or it could be spouses. It could, and all
lenders, the people they owe money to.
It all comes down to, again, setting those expectations for yourself or having somebody help you formulate those expectations. Because even if an agent goes out there in their first week and dials all these numbers, right, and has a lot of activity but doesn't have any sales, they can't be reevaluating their opportunity right then and there, right? You need to move into, especially this first month or two, and have that set aside. I know we talked about it when it comes to preparing leads and all that. You have to give yourself time to fail. So again, stop making it results-based. In your first month, it has nothing to do with results. So particularly in a first week or a first day of the week or any day of the week, it can't be results-based. It needs to be activity-based. You need to be perfectly fine mentally. If you don't sell anything for the next 2 weeks, that third week, you're still going to go out there and you're going to get the same number of leads. You're going to do the same activity and you're going to make those slight adjustments and it will come.
Yes. And I want to talk about those adjustments just to wrap this up, because we have this big question at the end. What do you do? And I think speaking to both of them, knowing your numbers and tracking your numbers, every mentor should recommend doing that. The number of calls that you make, the number of hangups that you receive, the number of presentations, the number of apps that you wrote, those all mean something. Mm-hmm. Like that data means something. And if you don't have enough data, you don't have a big enough sample size to make those minor adjustments. In some cases, you'll look at the script or you'll look at your call control statements and you'll you'll know immediately, oh, I should have said this. I should have made that adjustment. That's fine. But to overanalyze each hang up at each time, hey, I'm sounding too nice. I need to talk faster, or I need to be more aggressive or whatever. You need to give yourself enough reps and enough data to allow you to analyze the data to determine the changes that need to be made. And I think a week is a good amount to do that.
I'll tell you this, and it's maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think a lot of times there's people, and it is a problem. I think you can be overtrained at the beginning, and I think you can overlearn at the beginning, because there's so many people that want to train and watch videos and listen to every single podcast that we have ever before they make one phone call, and they have 10 different versions of their script right now, and they got it down to where they say exactly this. And I think in a lot of times that makes it a lot harder to get rolling and get started in this industry. A lot of times you just need to know the basics. You need to keep it simple so you don't overthink anything, because a new agent already has so much pressure, and they're trying to build their own self-confidence, their own self-belief, that they struggle with that. And their fear of failure is that instead of facing that head on and making those dials and figuring out, their natural, easy solution for their fear of failure is to go try to learn more before they start.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really harming them, and it's causing them to have it's causing them to have delays when it talks about getting rolling or figuring this thing out. They get too much.
Yeah.
So I think that can come two ways. The mentor can overtrain you, teach you way too much detail way too early. Also, again, kind of like the example I just gave, the agent could be asking for or pouring in and trying to get every question answered in the world ever before they go run a lead. Mm-hmm. So it can work on both of them.
Yeah, that's good. One thing I do want to speak to this issue of training. The training you're speaking about, tell me if I'm right about this, is really being an observer of somebody presenting information. The other type of training that I do think needs to happen more is somebody practicing their script with somebody before they start making calls. That gives them ownership of the script, or starting to take ownership, and they're consciously whatever it is, they become it becomes part of their brain, their thought process, their brain process. You know, and it's running in the background. It's easier for an agent, but it's different than just sitting and listening to another training.
Yeah, it's a role play.
Yeah.
And the difference is you're practicing implementation.
Yeah.
And that is key. Even in that, though, like, I don't want you to memorize a 400-word script off the top of your head in a role play. I think it's very important for somebody to understand the basics, understand the principles that you need to hit, give you somewhat guidance, but you need to be able to think on your feet and know, because when you're in that moment with a sit, especially in your first, second, third week out there, you have so much running through your mind, like, how is this going? And am I going to get the app? I don't know. Oh, she said that. Chris, what do I do?
Yeah.
And if you're watching somebody on the phone, like, you can see it on their body and their eyes. They're like, they don't really know how to react because they're all over the place emotionally. Again, they're on that swing set. And you look at a veteran, they're like barely wiggling, right? They're on that swing set. So you need to be able to, like in that moment, the agent, it's easier for them to go, okay, now I need to move to, I need to move to trust, or I need to start understanding their client situation. I need to start asking questions, right? Rather than going, now, Miss Jones, and you're trying to remember an exact word for word script.
Correct. Good. Okay, so we're going to wrap here. Hope this was helpful for you if you're a new agent, or even if you're leading new agents. Just some takeaways. One is, what did they experience? They should have experienced a lot of phone calls. That's the only thing at this point that really matters, is the level of activity. Now, there's some coaching that can happen in there that probably needs to happen, but that is the number one measure, is how much activity was there. What are they feeling? Again, you can feel what you need to feel, but get over it quick. Whether it's, I felt like I failed. You didn't fail. You're learning. As long as you keep going, you don't quit, you're continuing to move forward, you're winning. Get over it quick. If you get the applications, you won, great. Stick to the process. If you felt like you got hung up on because nobody liked you, get over that, deal with your baggage, and keep moving forward. And then finally, what do you do next? Stick to the process, understand the data that's coming in, and go over it with your mentor. Be coachable, move forward, and win. Does that sound good?
Sounds perfect.
Good job. You did great today.
You did
Excellent work.
Yourself.
Hey, guys, if you have any questions, you need coaching, you need support, we're here for you. This is Life Insurance Academy podcast. We can't wait to see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.